Thank you for joining Dr. James, Rini, and I, the Curiosity Conduit, for a look behind the curtain of letting destiny deliver. With 47 years of experience as a practicing psychotherapist, Dr. Rini brings profound insight into the dimensions of consciousness. I bring my own lens as a retired law enforcement officer, now immersed in the study of psychology. Together, we invite you into a dialogue where destiny meets awareness and curiosity leads the way. Today, we will discuss the seventh pathway, which falls under action. This conversation may lead to feelings of inspiration and curiosity, and it could also create some inner movement. That's all welcome. Life will reveal your destiny through all opportunities you keep yourself available for. So allow yourself to stay open and let's see what destiny delivers. The seventh pathway is act again and again on newly realized positive potentials so that they can become an integrated part of your actions. What are newly realized positive potentials?
Well, you've heard the expression, can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yes, I have heard.
Okay. So another way to put that is you can rely on neurological tracks of long duration much more so than newly acquired ones. And the reason for that is because they become neural pathways and they're integrated and you can almost do them automatically and effortlessly. So if can rely on neurological tracks of long duration more so than newly acquired ones, that's why we need to repeat newly acquired ones so that it becomes a neurological track. You know, people like to say, oh, you do something for so many days, it becomes a habit. So another way of putting it is it becomes a neurological track. And I purposely say newly positive potential. I'll use another analogy here. At least back in the days, you would look up a phone number just to dial it, and then after you dial it, you forget it because you don't need it anymore. But there were phone numbers that you memorized that you didn't have to look up. So how does a number get memorized? Through repetition. You repeat it to yourself over and over again. And then once it becomes memorized, it becomes a part of you. When you only have it for short-term memory, it's still in the outer world. It's still in the outer zone. It doesn't belong to you yet. It isn't a part of you yet. That's why you would have to look it up again if you wanted to find that number again. So through repetition, things become a part of us. And I also say in that same chapter is you have to be careful, be mindful of the things you repeat over and over again, because then they will become neurological tracks. And some things you may not want to become habit forming, but through repetition, children are very repetitious. I mean, they can do something over, do it again, do it again, do it again, or let's play again. Because I think it's just an inherent way of learning. And even, and through repetition comes further integration. If we repeat something over and over again, a lot of times we go, oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking about that differently. I didn't think about it this way before.
So integration into our conscious and unconscious mind?
That is a good question. Yes, that is a possibility of the integration. But the integration means that it is working in tandem with other parts. Okay. Unlike when you're confused, that's not integrated. That's disintegrated, decreased integration. So when a client, I've said this before, I'm sure, leaves here saying, I feel better, that means they have increased neural integration as a result of the dialogue. If they leave feeling better, then worse, then they're feeling decreased neural integration. What I've said is confuse them more rather than help them make sense out of what.
So as you were talking about the repetition, it involves the use of repetition so that you can take information to higher levels. When it talks about higher levels, what do you mean by that? Is that where you're talking about the integration or higher levels where? Somewhere in your subconscious? What do you mean higher levels?
Higher levels of awareness. And in that awareness, you're able to tune into people better. You're able to tune into you better. You're able to see patterns. You're more in touch with reality rather than distorting reality. Like one time I was teaching at the university and split the class up into triads so that they could practice the skills, One was client, one was observer, and the other was the therapist. And because we didn't have sufficient number of people, I participated in the triad. And so I was the therapist and I did that reflective listening. And the observer goes, how did you get that out of what she said? Because, and it was accurate. So that's a higher level of awareness because she totally, it's like a joke. As a parent, you go take your kids to animated features, right? But there are always things that are said that are on the adult level. The kids don't get it because they don't have that higher level of consciousness, you see? Just to use that as an example. So the adults can enjoy the hidden meanings while, and enjoy the cartoon along with the child because it has some adult content, but the child doesn't know that because they don't get the additional meanings or the deeper meanings that something can have.
Okay, so basically what I'm hearing you say is that as you're repeating these positive potentials and awareness of things that you're doing and acting or whatever the action, okay, it integrates. And as it's integrating, your awareness level becomes larger, broader.
Yeah, like here's another example. When I would study, I would study in order to learn, all the information. And I would use repetition to learn. And I knew when I learned it because I couldn't stand to repeat it one more time. But here's my point. In repeating it, I could see how it all fit together. Before it was just a list of facts. But through that repetition, I could now see the forest, not just the trees. And that's an example of a higher level, taking it to a higher level is now, oh, I can see the bigger picture. Like somebody may describe you, but that isn't going to be this, give me a list of your features, but that's not going to be the same as looking at your face because then I can see the whole at once. Okay. So through repetition and integration, we achieve wholeness.
Wholeness.
Yes. And wholeness is something we want to achieve.
At what point, though, does it become wholeness?
Well, it depends on what it is.
The realized positive potentials that are newly acquired. And you're integrating and you're getting to that higher level. You're starting to see things differently.
There is no ceiling to the ability to integrate and achieve wholeness.
So you can achieve the wholeness and just become bigger wholeness.
Well, it's like compounded interest.
Okay.
Your money starts making money for you. And the more compounded interest you make, then the more interest you make on the compounded interest, you see. So wholeness is like that. It is higher levels of wealth. Only the wealth is knowledge and understanding and awareness and wisdom, because wisdom is usually referred to with old people because through years of life, you get enough repetition that you then are able to integrate. It's not just knowledge, it's now wisdom. It's a transformational process.
It's an excellent example. So moving on to this next quote. Repetition should promote the transformation of a person's potential. Otherwise, it just represents sameness or being stuck. What would be something you would tell somebody that you recognize is in that stuckness or in the sameness? That's not necessarily a healthy place for them to be, or maybe it's not necessarily totally dysfunctional, but they want to go higher, have a higher awareness.
Okay, well, I mean, you can say different things to different people, but the cliche these days that kind of captures what I'm saying is insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Yes.
So that's the form of repetition that just produces sameness.
Yes.
Okay, there's no growth. Okay, and being stuck like that eventually leads to despair, as opposed to consistency. That's a form of sameness, but that's positive sameness. Like many years ago, I went to this cafeteria. I would eat there every day. And one of the people that worked on the line there goes, you're always so nice. She goes, other people come in here, some days they're nice and sometimes they're not. She goes, but you're always nice. But see, that's consistency, okay, rather than sameness. Okay, because it's positive. She was saying that as a positive thing, as a compliment to me.
Well, it was probably very nice for her to have. She'd probably look forward to you coming through because
And
bright about her day,
yeah, it's true, positive energy coming through.
It is. It's super nice, especially when you have people who don't acknowledge you as a worker or anything like that. But
So and I'll use this too, because I think, like working out, lifting weights, exercising requires consistency.
yes, it does.
So that's how you get results is through consistency. You're not going to get results through inconsistency. Even if you lift really heavy or whatever, you're not consistent, you're not going to get results.
That's right.
So that's a different kind of sameness is that consistency.
No, and what I would say to that for people who want that 8-pack, they have no problem going to get that consistency. But to have that higher level of awareness or feeling better, being able to work on the context of the things in their life. For some reason, it seems so difficult to do the work there.
Well, it's also difficult because going to the gym is very concrete. We can all do the same exercises and get the same results. Where this is, we're all different. And so we all have to do universal things, but differently.
Their own way.
Our own way, yes. And there's no roadmap really. I mean, this was intended to be a roadmap. But you can see how hard it is, the complexity, the levels. Here we are spending, half hour every week just explaining
Little
pieces
portions.
of it. Yeah.
Well, and even though this is a roadmap, you have worked very hard in making sure that it's clear that they're individuals and it's different for each person. As I try to put you in a box at times to give an answer, a singular answer, there isn't one.
Right.
So it's however they interpret what you're saying here for themselves in a positive manner and check themselves in the same way at times, as we were talking about in the previous steps.
I remember it.
Okay. To prevent repetition from deteriorating into sameness or being stuck, you must take risks and be able to benefit from feedback. If repetition is not leading to the acquisition of new potentials and understandings, then you are stuck or blocked. So I want to kind of hone into a certain portion of this where it says you must take risks and be able to benefit from feedback. What is meant by that?
Well, basically, it means you need an open mind rather than a closed mind. Okay, if you have a closed mind, it's like having a house that nobody lives in. It's going to deteriorate over time because there needs to be somebody there to maintain it and clean it, have all those outside forces that would make it deteriorate. So
you mean take risk, like just something that's out of the norm for that individual in a positive direction?
well, it depends on, yes, like some people are so shy that they won't engage somebody in conversation. So for them, talking to somebody or asking is a risk. Okay, so risks don't mean jumping out of airplanes in a parachute or something like that. I mean, not that. Risk is to get out of your comfort zone. See, because that's the paradox is whenever we are on the growing edge, it's going to be uncomfortable because we're outside our comfort zone. And so if you always retreat back into your comfort zone, you're going to be stuck. You're going to, not benefit from newly acquired learnings and experiences.
So one thing I have to say about the uncomfortable feelings
Yeah.
of learning, right? If you're really learning, it's going to be uncomfortable. And to embrace it, but not to a point to where you don't feel that it's uncomfortable. Still, I feel like you should feel some of that uncomfortable, but be okay with it.
Yes.
And as you can change the context,
Well,
this is exciting. I feel really uncomfortable. I'm learning something very cool, you know?
Well, especially if you see it as you're on a growing edge,
Mm-hmm.
then that discomfort is a positive.
Yes, I love it.
Okay.
Like, I feel like, for a while, I felt like, "Oh, I shouldn't just love that feeling," but I do because I love learning and I love growing.
Just because it feels bad doesn't mean it's bad for you. As I like to tell people, you want to practice new behaviors. In that way, you're remaining creative. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, there's no creativity in it. And in trying new things, taking risk, you're then reality testing. You're seeing whether what you believe is true or not.
And in part of that, I would say taking the risks sometimes and most times it will involve interacting with people or different people or new people. And when I'm reading this and it says be able to benefit from feedback, right? Those individuals are a reflection. So being able to be open to how they're responding to us, would that be the benefit of feedback? Is that what you're talking about? Or
Sure, but then you know the effect that you're having on people.
yes.
I'm thinking of a client, and one of her issues is that she didn't speak her mind her whole life. And she's regretting that today because looking back, she would do things much differently knowing what she knows now. But she wouldn't take the risk then of saying what she needed to say for fear of, retaliation in one form or another or hurting the person. So in her effort to do that today, I have to make her aware of those old tendencies because she's afraid maybe they'll end the friendship or it'll hurt them. And I'm saying, yeah, but those are the very same things you told yourself way back when that you are now regretting, as opposed to put it out there. Who knows? They may thank you for telling you that.
And you're referring to like telling somebody, not keeping it in if somebody was not making them feel good.
Anything or something you need from them or want from them or not making you feel. But see, it's a risk for a lot of people. They avoid conflict because it's a risk to tell somebody how they really feel.
Yeah. What if they don't accept what I said?
What if it really tells you something? If you,
The dreaded what if.
but you reality test and you find out otherwise.
Reality test meaning take the risk and say whatever it is.
It's find what the truth is. Yes.
There we go. Okay. So that's what you're meaning by reality testing.
I had another client many years ago. She did not believe her mother loved her, and she would not ask her mother if she loved her because she was afraid she'd say no, and she would die if she said no. Fast forward, the mom gets sick or whatever, and the mom tells her spontaneously she loves her.
Oh.
Totally transformed the relationship. And she's kicking herself. But, if I would have asked her sooner, I could have enjoyed it all these years. Now I'm enjoying it, but she's on her deathbed. But she wouldn't take that risk for fear of her mother saying, no, I don't love you. What the reality was, she did love her. And that's what risking does. It allows you to maybe find out, oh, this is different than what I thought. Because human beings are very bad at interpreting reality. They just are. I wish they were, but they are. That's how they get into my office one way.
Yep.
And it's easy to distort,
Yes, it is.
Like if you say, what are we having for dinner, Mom? Could mean, Mom, what are we having for dinner? Or are we having Mom for dinner? It's true though, right? On how I say it. What are we having for dinner, Mom? What are we having for dinner, Mom? You see, that's why texts are so bad, because it doesn't give you any of those other.
And why does Mom always get this question? I'm wondering, as a mom.
Because that's what moms do.
If it is what we do, but come on.
That's what my mom did. What can I tell you? So.
Was there anything else that you wanted to add on this?
I guess what comes to mind is I appreciate how complex and how overwhelming this can be for the untrained mind, so to speak. I very much believe that it's worth the effort, and through repetition, it'll come together. Because that's what repetition does.
It does. It does. But you got to choose to do it.
You do. And, it's the joy I want for everybody. Let's put it that way.
Me too.
I want everybody to be healthy. I want everybody to be happy. When I first started making sense of things, it's like, oh, I want to keep that a secret because I don't want everybody to know what I know. But then I reached a point, no, I want everybody to know this because it's good stuff. And it's, very rewarding, and it makes them happy. It improves the quality of life.
Yeah.
And because I don't know who's listening to this, it is presented in its totality. Like with a client, they can come in and sometimes you just say one thing and it totally puts them on the right track. It was the right thing at the right time that they needed to hear. And but you can't do this because I'm not talking to an individual. That then lets me fine tune what I was saying and, be much more precise so that it has a much more powerful effect.
See, I disagree with you. I think you are talking to them. You just don't know who.
I don't know who, you're right.
But you are. And it's all part of a larger thing that I can't wrap my head around. So.
But it's something I wish for everybody. So I guess I'll use this analogy in terms of what I've cooked up here. Never cooked for somebody else.
Like, come on, not even a little, like eggs.
No, never. I microwave.
Okay, microwave is cooking.
That's warming it up, really, is what it is.
Yeah, this is, okay.
But here's my point.
Okay.
Someone who feeds you wants you to really enjoy what they've cooked for you. They want to please you. They want you to have the pleasure of something they've made. And a lot of times they make it with love, which adds a whole nother ingredient to it. Okay. So the same thing here. I've cooked something up that I think is delicious and I want everybody to enjoy it, and it's made with love.
And it sounds so good.
And I guess you have to develop a taste for it. That's the thing.
Yes, that makes sense. I like that. Wow.
But if you just listen to it over and over, it will make sense at an unconscious level. And then that unconscious sense will be automatically transferred to your conscious mind. And then like reading, writing, and arithmetic, you can do it automatically and effortlessly because you've learned, the alphabet, so to speak.
Anything else?
That's it.
That's it.
No more.
Are you sure?
I'm done.
Okay.
No more
Put a
wisdom.
fork in you. Okay, he's done. Thank you for joining Dr. Rini and I on this journey behind the curtain of letting destiny deliver. Join us next time as we will discuss the 8th pathway listed under action. Remember to subscribe and like, and questions or comments are welcome below. Now ask yourself, what part of your life might destiny be trying to speak through right now? Keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, destiny isn't something you chase, it's something you allow. Until next time, be well.